All right, guys, I'm back. Keith Shillan, Sherdog.com. I got a very special guest this week. He is a former UFC middleweight champion. He's a UFC Hall of Famer. He is the one championship vice president. And the last time I talked to this guy, he told me when he was ready to come out of retirement, he was going to tell me, here's our second interview. So, Rich, who are you fighting and when?
I'm not coming out of retirement.
Yes. All right, so they guys have it, though. There's the whole interview. No. Yeah. Rich, how's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, man. So your one championship, 2020, 2021 has been a hectic year, but one championship is back to the normal schedule, cranking out things. One thing that's going on with one championship is you're about to hit your 10-year anniversary.
We are.
I know you haven't been there for the whole 10 years, but what's one thing you say over the 10 years that you're probably most proud of as an organization?
I'll tell you what, though. I've been there nearly 8 years, and I would say that if I had to pick one thing, it's probably resilience and speed of growth.
Okay.
Given the fact, one championship, I mean, right now, for example, in this current pandemic, we're in Singapore, and it's tough. In Asia, the pandemic is handled completely differently than it is here in the U.S., and so there are a lot of obstacles and challenges. If you think about Singapore as a country, geographically speaking, borders that have been, restrictions with travel and immigration and things like that, and our ability to be able to implement COVID protocols and still continue doing shows on our home turf is really quite impressive.
Yeah, I know one thing we talked about last time is the whole organization really wants to come west. They want to come to America. I know that was really the big storyline in the beginning of 2020. Obviously, no one could be prepared for what we got hit with, but there's been some things that have kind of gone in place that might make it possible. I mean, one was, obviously a TV deal with a major organization, a major company in America, but also Colorado just adopted one championship rules, allowing knees to the head, the ground opponent. Like, how excited and is this a key? Is this the first step to see you guys in America?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what I've done here, I actually came back to the U.S. for some personal reasons, so I'm on ground in the United States right now. But I think that the timing actually was uncanny. I don't know, by the hand of God that I'm here or whatever, that we're starting to now make this press, because with everything that's gone on with the pandemic and whatnot, we're eyeing 2022 next year as our foray to be on U.S. soil, actually physically here.
Okay.
The shows that we did earlier this year for TNT were shown, or they were performed in Singapore. But we're looking at U.S. soil next year. So coming here, that's what I'm actually doing, is I'm contacting state athletic commissions and reaching out and looking for approval for the global rule set that we have. And obviously, Colorado was the first state to adopt those rules for us. So I'm hoping that next year Denver will, I'm assuming Denver, if we go to Colorado, will be one of the major cities that we choose.
Absolutely.
I have several other commissions that I've been talking to across the board there, and I have the ball moving on a couple different things. So we have some other options as well, and I'm assuming that we're planning on doing, at least as the proposed schedule looks, I plan on doing multiple events here next year. So I'm going to need more than Denver as far as cities to go to anyway.
And how significant would it be coming in Denver, where, I mean, the main company in America is the UFC. They started in Denver. How cool would it be for one championship's first show in America to also be in Denver?
I don't know if that would be cool or not cool. I don't know if we should follow that.
Okay.
Or if we should say, no, we're going to forge our own path and maybe we'll come to Denver second or third or something.
Yeah.
Like
Is
that.
it just
not
me, like
sure.
the old man in me, to know that fact that other people probably didn't care? So let me ask you this. So some of the other states, the major areas that obviously I know one champion is going to want to go. They want to be in Vegas. They want to be in New York, LA, hopefully in my area, Boston. One question I have is, what if those areas don't adopt the rules? Would you guys ever do a show with, the different rule set?
Well, see, that's like asking me, like, what if you lose this fight? And,
Sure.
Somebody that has that kind of mentality, I'm like, nah, losing's not an option. So I'll figure out a way. And I'll say this. I've had conversations with several states, and the states are very receptive and inquisitive. I actually talked to Massachusetts. I really liked the conversation that I had with them, and but they asked some good questions as well. And so it's not a guarantee that I could be in Boston, but I got my fingers crossed, and I'm very hopeful about that one. So I'll continue having conversations with various states and stuff like that. Obviously, in the long run, you obviously want to hit the big cities like a New York or an LA or something like that. And I think just like the UFC had issues with getting into a state like New York, it'll probably take some time for us to get there. But when you look at the global rule set that we've implemented in one championship, first of all, there are a lot of safety standards that we have going on that go above and beyond many organizations in the world. For example, we do fight week CT scans. So we have our medical protocols that all of our athletes go through. And even though whatever, head scans are required in these standard medical protocols, along with our physicals and blood tests and all those kinds of things, when they arrive on the fight week, the company actually takes them. And this is something that's implemented, that's scheduled into each of the athletes' fight week, but they take them to the hospital and have them do CT scans the week of the fight. Because from the time you've had a CT scan or anything like that, if it's good for a year or two or whatever, you could have gotten, some sort of head trauma in sparring or something like that. So we want to check them the week of the fight. Plus, you're familiar with our entire hydration protocol. You see what's going on with a lot of other organizations. We've seen athletes on stage, like stepping on scales that are fainting and falling down and stuff.
Scary stuff.
It's scary. It's scary when you see the stories. This is the path that I came through. Obviously, that was, cutting weight was part of my athletic career and unavoidable at the time. And so when you see this kind of stuff, like particularly with hydration, I don't know how a state couldn't at least take that aspect of our rule set and say, hey, you know what, this is something that we should adopt for any rule set that we're going to implement. And obviously, when you're looking at our rule set and going from state to state, and you're talking about adjusting the rules, I would say most of the American fans at this point in time that are familiar with our rule set, even though we say this on every broadcast, we're still surprised by the fact that you can knee an opponent when they're on the ground. Obviously, a la Adriano Moraes and
that's right, Demetrius Johnson,
right?
Yeah,
there was a lot of fans that came out like, wait a minute, you can't do that.
Yeah,
and I'm like, no, we actually literally say this on every single
that's
broadcast.
Right. And also, another one is the scoring the entire fight as a whole. A lot of people don't get that. Like the amount of times I got to tell people, that person won that round. Doesn't matter. They don't score rounds.
Yeah, and I have a background, like I have a history with this. If you look at my match with Dan Henderson, look at the scoring, the judging cards on that match, right? I had two judges that scored that 29-28 in his favor, and I had one judge that scored it 30-27 in my favor. And I've never been a fan of the 10-point must system, particularly for MMA.
Sure.
Especially 3-round matches, because a 10-point must system might be effective for boxing when you're fighting 12-round fights, but you have the ability to take a round or two off, type of thing. If you're in an MMA match and you squeak out round one, squeak out round two, and then suddenly you get blown out in the third round, you end up winning a decision that you technically really didn't deserve by default of the 10-point must. So the way our scoring happens is that after minute 5 of the match, you get a 1-minute break in essence. And then minute 6 starts at the beginning of round 2, and you just pick right back up with your scoring where you left off. So there is no stealing of rounds or any of that kind of stuff either.
Would you say it also makes it more exciting because, think like the NFL, we don't score quarters or
exactly
or baseball or anything. You could, right now Major League Baseball is in the playoffs, and if the Red Sox are up 6-0, well, the Astros can have a 8-run ninth inning and say 7th-run ninth inning or something like that. It makes it exciting. So you think it actually makes it more exciting too?
Well, I do, and I think it's truer to the sport. When you look at the scoring criteria, think about it like this. Baseball's a perfect example. You have a 9-inning game, right? So let's say that you start scoring the 9 innings, and let's say that of 6 of those innings, the first 6 innings, the score was 0-0 both teams, and then one team scores 1 run in the 7th inning, that same team scores another run in the 8th inning, and then in the 9th inning the opposing team scores 10 runs. But by the rules, if you were using a 10-point must system, it'd be this other team won 2 innings to 1, so they win the game.
Yeah.
Woo!
How
does that work?
Yeah.
So it really doesn't.
Basketball, football, they're all the same way. Hockey, all the major sports are all the same way.
Yeah.
I know you're short on time. Let me ask you one question. So in America, we have it's very star-driven sport, and obviously you have fighters that maybe an American fan knows, from their time in America, Demetrius Johnson, Eddie Alvarez. But you also want to build your own stars that would really attract the American audience. I think when I think of a fighter, I'd say to really become a star, you really need 3 things. 1, you need skill. 2, you need a compelling story, and 3, you have to have a personality. Whether it doesn't have to be a huge trash, just gotta have something that connects with the audience. Is there 1 or 2 fighters that you'd say, I get this person in front of an American audience, this is the star?
Well, I mean, I think like, Christian Lee just lost his title, but I think somebody like a Christian Lee could be that guy. And it's interesting when I see Christian develop because he's a good gentleman kind of guy. But there are some people that just like, there are people that love him, and then there are people that hate him. And so one way or the other, I think somebody like that connects with the fans. When I look at some of our other athletes, like I think somebody like Rod Tang, for example, who had his Muay Thai match. I think he fought Daniel Williams on the TNT card. I think that's who he fought. Yep. And I think he did a really good job of winning the fans over and on that night. And even somebody like that, I believe that he could transcend. You look at somebody like an Arjun Bowler, our heavyweight champ now. He's got a great personality. He knows how to work the camera and speak in interviews and stuff like that. So yeah, we have quite a few that I think that once the mainstream American audience becomes familiar with our athlete roster, there are really going to be quite a few that they'll definitely attach to that could transcend.
Yeah, and I think the entire Lee family would also fit that too, both Victoria and obviously Angela, the champion. One last question. I said the last one was the last one, but
no. You listen. I got a few extra minutes, so you go ahead. Yeah.
All right, but I'll give you one last question. So I'm an MMA fan, but maybe I go to the sports bar. I'm not a hardcore fan. I don't know everybody. Sell me one championship. What's your pitch?
Sell you one champ? How would I sell you one championship? I feel like I'm in Wolves of Wall Street. Sell me this pin. Yeah, this is a cheap pin, by the way.
People like to call me like the Leonardo DiCaprio of MMA.
Right? Yeah.
And people, I mean myself.
Look, one of the things that I think about when the first thing that comes to mind with one championship, I get so used to seeing the shows, the opens, the staging that we do, the LED, all that stuff, the pyro, everything that goes into it. And I'm so numb to it that I forget how good our show is from an entertainment standpoint, particularly when things are back to normal. Right now, we're still in Singapore. We have limited audiences, obviously, due to the COVID protocols in the country imposed by the government. So when you're at one of our live shows, that's just a very big differentiating factor between us and other organizations. And it became clear to me when Eddie Bravo came out and watched our event, and then I subsequently heard Eddie Bravo on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about one championship as an event. I also think that beyond the entertainment factor of things, this truly is like rock concert meets sporting event. I think that when you couple the way that we judge with some of the fight styles that you see in Asia, it makes for exciting matches, which is part of the reason why we have an 80% finishing rate in our matches. Plus, and I'll be honest, as a fan, I was not a big fan of doing mixed martial art events, right? Having Muay Thai, kickboxing, MMA matches all in one event. But, particularly the way that we do Muay Thai matches with the 4-ounce gloves, it makes for really good shows all around. So I think that we have the makings for just a stellar event because we have some great athletes, different types of martial arts that you're going to see, good finish rates. I love the judging, and then the whole entertainment factor of the show. And if you haven't been there to see one live, then you just wouldn't understand until you're in stadium.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that of course is UFC Hall of Famer Rich Franklin. One championship.
Hold on. Wait, did I sell it to you?
Oh, Rich, I've been.
Well,
it's unfair. I've been sold for years, so I might not be. I'm not the right audience, but one championship is going to sell itself. You have some huge things coming up. Coming up this year. You have the Atomweight Grand Prix still finishing up the semifinals. Yeah. Some really good stars. I mean, Fairtex is an absolute killer. You got Fogart. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. Also.
You know what? On that Fairtex match, by the way, Julie Mezzabarba, who stepped in as the alternate, I was originally slated to recruit her in my OWS, and we were heading to Brazil. She was one of the girls that I had I had on my radar.
Yeah.
And then that's how this ended up coming back full around because when we started looking out, but she's now stepped in as the alternate, and man, she's had a lot.
She's a brawler.
She's had a lot of stuff to say about Stamp being overrated with her striking. She's a Muay Thai athlete. This is MMA, and she pretty much said like I'm gonna show her what stand up's like. Like her stand up's overrated. I'm not even fazed by it.
Yeah.
So I think that this is gonna be the way that this is playing up. I love the Ritu Fogat Hirata matchup.
Yeah. And Fogat's someone I've been pumping for a while. I've always been impressed with her.
But I'll tell you though, Hirata on this one is her grappling style is at a level that I think Fogat hasn't run into yet.
Sure.
So this could be the girl that she may not be able to hold down. So I mean, look, you have the Atomweight Grand Prix. We have the 10-year anniversary coming up with 1X. We got some amazing matches on that card as well. We have like as I mentioned Rodtang earlier. We have Demetrius fighting Rodtang in basically like a hybrid match where they're doing Muay Thai rules, MMA rules, Muay Thai rules, MMA rules, 4 rounds. And so that's, I mean, as a fan, I'm excited to see something like that.
Absolutely. So One Champion's got huge things. Like I said, the Atomweight tournament, the mixed rules Muay Thai MMA match, that's definitely going to catch eyes. And then, hopefully, 2022, they're in American soil, so the American fans can also enjoy everything you're doing. Rich, thank you so much for your time. And next time you're going to announce your return fight for me.
Well, it's just that when I do return, I'll announce it. But that's why I said. You said who you fighting, and I said I'm not coming out of retirement yet.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much.
I'll leave that with the teaser.